across the street, singing along to our favorite songs. These are the times when life is sweet.
Greetings and welcome back to It's a Woman's World, where we talk about and explore all of the beautiful ways that women continue to change the world. Well, today, of course, is no different. We are always in celebration of women and women who have taken life and told the beautiful story. Yes, and so today I welcome you to It's a Woman's World. I'm your host, Jamila Pettiford, and let me introduce my co-hosts. Barbara Lavalier, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What a treat today we have with Alexis joining us.
Yes, absolutely. And Susan Strauss.
Thank you. It's good to be part of the group again. I've missed you all.
Yes, and we've missed you. Candy Pettiford.
Well, greetings, everyone. I'm excited to be here and got some questions for you, Alexis.
Yes. And then we have Melissa Nimbango.
Nice to be here and great to see everybody, and so wonderful seeing a younger journalist. It's in my background, but it's still very influential in my life. So I look forward to this discussion.
Yes, and thank you so much, Melissa, and welcome. And we have our guest, and I was reading about you, Alexis Rogers, and a multi-Emmy award-winning storyteller and speaker, anchor, and community relations manager at Care 11.
Yes.
What an honor to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be with you ladies.
You mean seriously? And I'm just going to start the questions off and let's just dive right in. I mean, you have such a beautiful life and such a beautiful story. But when I thought about, the courage that it takes to be in front of millions of people every day, I wanted to know what was that story or that inspiration that brought you to the confidence to drive towards your goal?
I love that question. And thank you so much for wanting to know a little bit more about me. I grew up in the Chicago area, and growing up, my parents made it just mandatory. We had to watch the news every night. They wanted me to be a very well-informed girl to young woman. And I loved it. I loved seeing people on the news, especially who looked like me, that were telling stories that were impacting people. Then I was blessed to have a broadcast journalism program in high school. And man, that's when I caught the bug. I'm telling you, I love talking to people and learning. And it just snowballed into what it is today. That's what led me to my college. And it's funny, my dad, he was going through trying to digitize tapes, and he had a tape of me interviewing the mayor of my city with his camcorder. Like, I think he had to take a half day. I was like, Dad, this is what we're going to do. And, my parents always allowed me to dream like that. They never stifled that. And I so appreciated it.
And that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, welcome, Alexis. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Alexis, I've got a kind of a piggyback question on that. This sounds like your dream occupation, right?
Oh,
so,
yeah.
So what are some of I guess the joys that you've had? I mean, other than the learning and talking to people, when you think about being in your career, and I've never done what you've done, it seems as though more and more women in particular, and I guess I see more white women than Black women, and that might be my perception, but I'm wondering what the joys have been now that you're in the profession, but also what kind of challenges have you had as a woman, but also as a Black woman?
All of those, such important things. Thank you for that question. Some of the joys. I get a backstage pass to life every single day from city to city. I have been able to come into a community, understand be in people's homes at their best and worst moments. And I get a chance to have life lessons every single day, from young to seasoned. I mean, there is no body or person that I have not learned something from. And that's amazing. Like, I get a chance, to have friends that when you see us together, we probably don't look like we would be as close as we are, but I get a chance to do life with a lot of different people. I used to always tell people, especially when I was in Little Rock. So I first started in Missouri at KOMU, the NBC affiliate there. Then I went to the ABC affiliate in Little Rock, and that was a culture shock for me, right? Because I'm a Midwest girl. I had visited the South. My grandparents were always from Texas. My dad's from Texas. And so, we would always visit the South, but it's different living in the South. That's a very different understanding of life. And and so I had to learn a lot quickly. And I used to tell people all the time, because I was on the streets every day. I mean, I was primarily reporting. In my newsroom, my nickname ended up being the Witness Whisperer, because people would talk to me when they wouldn't talk to other people. And I would tell people, look, I know you did not invite me into your home, especially on your worst day, but I promise you that you will invite me back. And everyone that I've ever told that to, that's been the case. They're like, Lex, I can't believe I'm calling you and telling you about XYZ, because I believe that community is doing life with one another. And it goes to the second part of your question, right? I'm very aware of my power of being a Black woman in a newsroom. I've served with the National Association of Black Journalists on the national level for a very long time, really since I was a student. And it's a virtue and a vice, right? It is a weight. It is a glorious weight, but it is a weight, right? Because I'm used to being in newsrooms where there are not a lot of people who look like me. And because there's not a lot of people who look like me, there's not a lot of people who are living in communities and really doing life in communities that look like me. And so, I take up the mantle a lot of times to try to be responsible, not to be the voice of a whole community, because that's not fair, but to be an educator, to be an advocate, to be a person that is holding people responsible for our actions and our words, because they have power. So, as I move from city to city, I mean, everything from people inviting me to be in their weddings to being chased by the KKK. In my 10 plus years of experience, I've had a little bit of everything. And I know that there's even more. I had Carol Simpson, who is, if not the first Black woman to anchor network news. I won her scholarship when I was graduating from the University of Missouri. And it was such a generous scholarship. It really helped me to do a lot. And the cool thing is I got a chance to talk to Miss Simpson, right? Since I was the winner. And just hearing the stories that she had, I mean, we're talking about, ladies, and this, women weren't really on big screens when it came to journalism until like the 60s. I mean, that's not that long ago. I mean, women in general are shattering barriers all the time. And then you have that added standpoint of being a woman of color. It comes with daily things. And even to this day in 2024, I have some great colleagues, but I'm constantly teaching and having to have grace and growing and holding people accountable.
I think one of the reasons I was wondering about when I asked you about some of the challenges, did you feel that as a Black woman that there were barriers that were set up that made it more difficult for you to get into the position that you are now?
Absolutely. Oh, many. I mean, I've always wanted to be an anchor. I love being a journalist. I love telling stories, especially in-depth stories. But there's something about manning a show, right? Like there's something about being a main constant presence of a show. And that's always been a dream of mine. And I remember I worked so hard, and I was filling in a lot. And I literally had a manager tell me, you are not blonde hair, blue eyed. You will not be the anchor of any show at this station. And I mean, that wasn't that long ago, right? And now I can sit back and say, well, obviously he was wrong. Obviously, I've won multiple Emmys, and I've created shows, and I've created spaces that have been great for other women and people. But I mean, that was a barrier. Even, my husband's also in the business, and we were talking about this. I'm a second generation college student. My parents forged the way of being first generation college students. This is an industry where you do not get paid a lot to be in. So if you are a person that spent the money and the time to go to college, I also went to the #1 school of journalism in the country. At Missouri, they told us to take a look at your left and your right. that only one of you all was probably going to make it to the finish line. And they were right. I mean, out of the more than 1,000 of us that came in to be journalism students, you know, I looked around graduation day and it was only 50 odd people in my broadcast track. And I was the speaker of my graduating class. That hadn't happened to have a Black woman as the speaker of the graduating class. So I say to you, you know, I'm thankful that I had that opportunity, but I mentor and I speak to so many young women, especially young Black women that cannot afford to go to even a stateside school to get the education that's needed to be able to even apply for these jobs and get the, you know, the skills to even be able to do this job. On top of the fact that once they get in, you know, and now it's a little better, but you get in and you have these teachers that don't even understand how to take you. So many people didn't know how to take me, right? They were like, Alexis, I mean, you know, you have a great personality, but maybe like tone that down, or wear your makeup this way, or you know, the way you said that, I don't understand. I'm like, you know what, Fred, you understand me just fine. I know you know what I'm saying, you know, but to have a confidence in doing that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in here because you mentioned that your husband is in the business, and that's one of the questions that I have for you. Your husband, Reggie Wilson, who is such a handsome bloke. I wonder how you have managed as a power couple, because you are one of the most visible power couples in the metropolitan area of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Has that been a hindrance or a help? Or how have you dealt with that? Because there has to have been some challenges.
You know what? It's so funny because I think we forget, so many people have been like, you all are a power couple. And we look at each other and we're like, we are? That's amazing. That's so cool. You know, I always say that Reggie walked so I could run here, right? I mean, we were long distance for 2 years. I was the evening anchor in Indianapolis for the last 2 years, and we both got promoted at the same time. And even before then, you know, we've existed in cities before, but this has been the most elevated that we've been able to be in the same spot, right? So it comes with some really cool moments where people will come up and be like, oh my, I am so proud when I see you all. I am so excited to see you all on my TV screens talking about what you're talking about. So there's that piece, right? And then there's the piece of being watched very carefully. Like it's so funny when we'll go out to just do regular stuff, you know, people will just invite themselves to like have dinner with us or lunch with us and tell us what's on their mind. And sometimes it's like really nice things, and other times they really got a bone to pick, you know, and it's just, it's interesting, right? Because we understand that, you know, that's the agency that we have, you know, having the privilege to do the jobs that we do. And it's so funny because my husband and I were two very different people. Like Reggie is a very even keel, even in college, you know, he's just very here. Like he likes to do the job, he likes to connect with people, that's it. You know, so all the attention is interesting for him because he's just like, why are they paying attention to me? Like in his mind, right? And for me, I think I've always liked doing community with a lot of people. So it doesn't take me aback as much maybe as it takes him, but it's definitely been an adjustment. And our parents, they get such a kick out of it. I mean, like they get such a kick out of it. Like when we go to the, you know, airport, things like that, because, you know, we fly a lot, and to the point where like TSA recognizes us, and the person behind us, they're like, hey, like, does it say that on the thing? They're like, no, we just see them all the time. So, you know, it's definitely a change for sure, because we're so used to being in our different spheres. And now we are literally coworkers, which is mind-boggling. I never thought that would happen.
With all this that you're saying, it sounds like you have a story to tell. Have you ever thought of writing a book, Alexis?
You must have a spirit of discernment. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
yes.
I'm an author, so I would ask that question.
Well, you are right. Yes, I've been in the process of writing down thoughts and lessons, especially since I've written workbooks for my nonprofit, Lisa's Girls, when it comes to life skills and leadership and mentorship. And as I speak, especially as I speak all across the country, I realize that a lot of the same things that I'm empowering women with and girls with and companies and all that, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of truth in this, that I probably should just go ahead and write in one place. So yes, I am in the process, and I'm kind of just letting the process take me where it takes me.
So now we talked about you being going to write a book. Now, what about your girls? How can we help her, help you with your girls?
I would love, love, love to have as many amazing women and girls signing up for Lisa's Girls, becoming a part of the community. So that way more people can meet each other. That was the whole point. When I started in Chicago as my Girl Scout Gold Award, it was just to empower those who were around me. And then when I continued to teach from Missouri to Arkansas to Ohio to Indiana, everyone kept asking me to come back. And I was like, oh, maybe we just need a way for everyone to learn the lessons, start being paired up in mentorship, but be able to connect together. So I would absolutely love for anybody out there to go to lisasgirls.com, sign up to be a part of the community, and we'll get you started.
All right.
Love it.
Well, that's great. I was very interested in the girls' question because I also run a girls group as part of my nonprofit work. So anyway, I have 2 questions for you. I'm going to take the time because I'm the last to ask. One question is, I think the journalist's life, especially those who are well known, is really complicated now because of social media. And I'm wondering how you handle those challenges that come through social media that really are not helping with your job, to be very frank. Then the second thing I would like you to address after you talk about that is we want to hear about your awards. I am so impressed with the Emmys and all of that. So tell us as much as you can about the awards. All right.
Absolutely. When it comes to social media, it has changed the whole landscape of the immediacy of what we're doing every day, right? You think about, especially the broadcast industry, journalism, it looks a little different depending on the discipline, right? So whether it's, print or digital, with broadcast, you have to do it all. I mean, it's interesting. I think I came into this industry at a time where there was a really important shift happening. People who used to solely be a photojournalist and solely be a reporter, and maybe crews that were like 3 people are now 1 person doing all of those jobs. So then you add social media to that, right? And it's hard because the moment that, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook allowed people to go live, it was a really amazing thing because all of a sudden you had access to all these communities and people and things. But it also changed the game because now you have all of these content creators and influencers, and they do not have the same level of editorial, editorial conversations and responsibilities as a journalist. And so now we're so accessible. And now, at Missouri, we're taught to do process journalism, which I think is very important. It's very important to be very transparent in how you got from point A to point B to point C, right? But now it's completely different. I mean, I remember when I first got to Little Rock, and I was covering a lot of death row cases because it was just at an interesting time where the timing had just kind of came up. And I mean, I was literally live tweeting and going live in a moment's notice for this death row trial. Like, I mean, that was not the case even 15 years ago, right? Or, I remember one of my first award-winning reports was on a realtor named Beverly Carter, and she was murdered while showing a home back in, I want to say 2014, 2015. And she was like one of the first. Like, it completely changed rules and the game for realtors, right? I mean, it was this big, elaborate thing. And I became very close with her son, matter of fact. And as we were finding things, like we were taking people with us. This was before TikTok. This was really, Instagram was kind of new. And so it's so interesting that with storytelling, even the way we're shooting things, like it's with online in mind, because now the news, especially, it is not appointment TV anymore. People aren't rushing home at 5 o'clock to watch what we have. They want to get updates all day. So now your reporting process has to be more immediate, but now you have to do more to make sure that it is accurate. Then you have an extra level now with artificial intelligence. And that's one thing I'm very proud of Kara about. We are constantly going through training. about just trying to understand what is out there. How do we continue to be responsible? So yeah, social media completely changes the game. I have some old school mentors that are always like, girl, I am very happy that I didn't have to focus on that. I got to focus on this. And as far as the awards, man, I'm so blessed. One, because I didn't get into this work for awards, but it does feel really good to feel valued.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It feels good, and we can unapologetically just, lean into that, right? So my very first Emmy is a story that is very near and dear to my heart. It was about Kaylee, who was an amazing senior in high school, just committed to The Ohio State University to be a doctor. And in Ohio, you have the ability once you turn 15 years old to be an organ donor. And, your parents had to sign off on it, but it was one of the younger states where you could sign up to be an organ donor. And previous to her passing, I had a lady come to me about a story about how she was really looking forward, unfortunately, to getting her son's kidney. Her son was shot. Her and her husband both needed kidney. They had a really hard time trying to get a kidney, and she thought she did everything she was supposed to do in order to get her son's kidney. We understood later that resources failed her to really help her through the steps and help her understand that it didn't work the way that she thought, and she was told that it was supposed to work. So I got together with Donate Life, and that was probably September, right? And I said, hey, I know it's hard, especially with trying to do reporting with hospitals because of HIPAA. I mean, there's a lot of loops and holes to jump through. Long story short, I told the head of Donate Life, I said, hey, I think we need to show people and explain and educate people through the process of organ donation, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of cultural nuances. And I just feel like a lot of people have not seen it and, been in it. And so it's hard for them to understand what to do. And she said, listen, I will bring it up to families as, conversations come up. And if we have somebody who's willing, I will let you know. Well, lo and behold, I was working the morning show and I get a call. It was like, gosh, 2-3 o'clock in the morning. Alexis, we have a family to let you in. Now, Bidgie, we're on the news. I have no idea. I mean, because this is a big deal. These kids were going to prom, got into a terrible car accident in a Tesla, and the Tesla came and went everywhere. Like, this was a really big deal for many different reasons. So a lot of times when you do enterprise reporting, you don't always have the breaking news aspect. So we have two things going on here. Donate Life, the hospitals. I mean, we got unprecedented coverage into literally, I was beside the hospital room right beside her as they were keeping her body alive to be able to give. And so we got a chance to cover her process from literally the accident. We were on scene to when her parents and family got to meet the more than 27 individuals that were impacted by all of her donations, and how she still got to save lives, even though her life got cut short. And so that changed things. There were scholarships. It went into educating. And now Donate Life uses those reports, those series of reports, to educate people all across the country. I was so proud of that because it made impact, and it was amazing. So, those types of stories is what I've been able to do. A lot of putting more detail into the things that we see. Another award that I got recently was for the show that I created in Cincinnati called Let's Talk Cincy, where it's a news magazine show. We're able to delve into things. And more recently, the Dayton Tornadoes, that was my Murrow coverage. And that was actually the Dayton Tornadoes. That was crazy because that was literally the week of my wedding. So I was working like 14, 15-hour days. We were trying to get things together because, I told you I got married out of state. And so, but it all worked out and we were able to get those stories. And my most recent, I did a news documentary about the living truth of Emmett Till. And so I grew up, Emmett Till is a descendant in my mom's side of the family. And so I grew up hearing the stories from eyewitness accounts my whole entire life. And, it's something to hear something, and it's another thing to be able to be a journalist and help other
Yeah.
people experience the storytelling. And so that was an
Nice.
amazing, we just got honored with that. And now that is actually being used in Indiana public schools because it's connected to an Indiana case that a lot of people didn't realize. And it's still impacting things now. And timing is everything. This is one thing I want everybody to realize. You all have stories. You all have stories that will impact other people. But sometimes timing is everything. I tried to tell that story for years. And because of FBI gag orders and things like that, my family and those who I was able to interview were not able to be interviewed during those times. Fast forward, we finally got like a little break where we could finally interview them. And everything, it was like a domino effect. That's when anti-lynching all of a sudden finally got picked up again. We got a chance to follow them to DC. I mean, it was just this ripple effect, and it happened when it was supposed to happen. So, you know, I'm very proud of all of those things.
And we
not
are
just
too.
awards, but the impact. Yeah.
We are too, because you know what? You said timing is everything, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew we were going to run out of time. And your story is so elaborate. And I always say it starts to get so juicy and so good, like mid to the end. And it's so hard to pull it back. But I want you to know we are so proud of you, Alexis. And we're so honored to hear all of the ways that you continue to change people's lives by just being you. I mean, I think to me, more than anything, that is what gives me joy, because to be able to look and to see a beautiful reflection of a woman who is using her beauty and her pride and her history and her drive to make changes and to inspire the next generation of young girls who are looking for themselves in you. I'm just so honored to say thank you. And so this is our final question, but we love you. We honor you. We thank you. Continue the great work. And that goes not only for our dear Alexis Rogers, that also goes for you. That goes for you. Continue to be great, continue to be powerful, and continue to change the world, because guess what? It is a woman's world. Thank you all. Thank you, host. I'm Jamila Pettiford.
You are right. Yes, I've been in the process of writing down thoughts and lessons, especially since I've written workbooks for my nonprofit, Lisa's Girls, when it comes to life skills and leadership and mentorship. And as I speak, especially as I speak all across the country, I realize that a lot of the same things that I'm empowering women with and girls with and companies and all that, I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of truth in this, you know, that I probably should just go ahead and write in one place. So yes, I am in the process, and I'm kind of just letting the process take me where it takes me.